Well, hey there, and welcome to the channel where you will find love, laughs, and DIYs. My name is Crafty Kathy. I'm the owner and creator of Kids Vintage Farmhouse here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I'm tickled pink that you stopped in to craft and spend a little time with me today. I've had so many requests to do a video on decoupaging glass, and I thought it would be a fun idea to take some mason jars and just some regular jars and show you how easy and beautiful it is to decoupage on them. So whether you're a beginner or a pro, let's have some fun and craft. Now there's a few supplies you're going to need every time you decoupage, and I like to do my backgrounds in a white color. This is DIY paint in the color beadboard. It's my favorite off-white color, and the white just makes your decoupage pop and it just blends in. And just trust me, if you do a white background, you're not going to go wrong. And I'm going to tell you where you can get this paint in just a minute, but let's go on with our other stuff. You're going to need some kind of sponge. Now, when I'm decoupaging on glass, I like to do it with a sponge. You can either use that or you can use this little dauber that you get from the Dollar Tree. That's what I'm going to use today. Then the next thing you're going to need is something to make it stick. You're either going to need a Mod Podge or a liquid patina. I like the liquid patina from DIY because it's thinner than Mod Podge and it just goes on easier, I think. And you can get all this from Milton's daughter, which I'll leave in the description box below. Miss Lori is amazing and she will help you out with any questions that you may have. The next thing that you're going to need is some cling wrap. You definitely want some saran wrap because if you get any wrinkles, this is going to be your best friend. And then you're just going to need a variety of paintbrushes. It really doesn't matter what kind of paintbrush you like to put your decoupage down with. These are just ones that I literally grabbed. I do need a small one so I can use with my water bottle, which brings me to Little Squirt here. It's just one of those slow misting type water bottles, and you definitely need that. And of course you're going to need your napkins, whatever kind of napkins you want, it doesn't matter. And then lastly, we're decoupaging on glass, so grab your mason jars and your old salsa jars and pickle jars and let's get on it. I'm going to take some of my paint in the color beadboard and I'm just going to put a little bit in this little artist palette. I get mine from the Dollar Tree and I like to use them when I'm decoupaging because I can have that, my water, my liquid patina, everything I need poured in these little cups, and it just makes it so much easier. But you're not going to need a whole lot of this paint because you're going to be using a sponge, and you'll find that with the sponge you use less paint, and there's so many other perks, and I'll tell you about those in just a moment. So make sure you use some kind of sponge. You can just even rip off an old kitchen sponge. Anything works, it doesn't matter. Now the number one rule whenever you're going to be decoupaging on glass is you want your glass to be clean of fingerprints and debris. I like to use alcohol and a lint-free rag and just go all around my jars. Now make sure you remove all your fingerprints. You don't want nobody accusing you of no crime. It'd mess up your whole weekend. Well, I'm going to clean the rest of these jars real quick and we're going to get right into it. Now what I do is I take my little dauber that I got from the Dollar Tree and put me a little bit of paint on there and I just go to town. And I like to do the stippling type motion all over. Now don't worry, it looks a little rough when you first put it on your glass, but when it dries down, it's going to be perfect. And the reason why you want to use a chalk paint, or in my case, I'm using a clay-based paint, which is the DIY paint. You definitely want to use that on glass because it's not going to come off when you scratch it or bump it like it would if you use acrylic paint. But if acrylic paint is the only paint you have, just put some of that Rust-Oleum clear coat, that matte clear coat all over your jar and it will seal it, and then it's not going to scratch off. But I don't want to go to all that trouble. I'm lazy. So I just grab my DIY paint and I go to town and I stipple it all over my jar. I do find most of the time that I have to give it 2 coats because I don't like that you can kind of see through it after that first coat. Now, by all means, if you put your paint on thick and you are happy with it and you can't see through it, then that's fine. Don't worry about it. Just do one coat. But for me, it always seems to take 2 coats. And I make sure that they're absolutely dry in between my coats. Another rule of thumb when I'm decoupaging anything is I don't like straight edges. And what I mean by that is, you see my napkin here is kind of like a rectangle shape. We don't want that. We want it to have a torn look because it looks more natural. So I take little squirt and I just put a little bit of water in one of my little palette thingies there and a very small skinny paintbrush. I'm going to lay my napkin out. I'm going to wet the end of it and go all around this napkin. And then I'm just going to tear it off, and that way it's going to have that jaggedy type edge the way that I want it to have. Because like I said, Kathy don't do straight edges. Then all you do is go around and tear your images out. I'm only going to need 2 of these images, so I'm just going to go around 2 of them and simply tear them out and then set my napkin off to the side. I am going to save that pretty blue border because I think I can use it at the top of my mason jar. And then what I do is I just put a little bit of that liquid patina on my thumb and on my pointer finger, and I'm going to separate the napkins. Now, most napkins have 1 ply or 2 plies, but baby, you got to be careful because sometimes them boogers are sneaky, and I've even come across 3 plies before. Now, you know you have all the plies off when you can literally see through your napkin. Then I'm going to lay my mason jar down exactly where I want to put this beautiful blue and white rose pattern at, and we're going to get busy. Now, I always do my napkins in smaller segments. It seems to make it easier. And look how very little bit of that liquid patina that I'm actually putting on that jar. It doesn't take much at all. And that's the reason why I like that liquid patina better than I do Mod Podge. Because, you know, Mod Podge is thick and goopy, and this stuff is not at all. And look, it just takes barely. I mean, it's almost as if I'm dry brushing that stuff on there. It's such a little amount on my brush. And then I just kind of let my napkin fall like it wants to. I don't try to force it because that'll cause wrinkles. And then you start from the middle and just kind of brush outward toward the edges of that napkin. Now here's the last little section I'm going to do. Put down a very thin coat, and see, I just kind of push it down in the middle there with that paintbrush, and then I just go to the outer edges, and that way we are preventing any type of wrinkles from happening. Now, when you're working with napkins, you're going to get some wrinkles sometimes. There's times when you may not have any at all, but napkins are so thin, when you get them wet, the first thing they want to do is kind of wrinkle up. But I'm going to show you how I prevent it from happening. I use this brush, and I like to use a flat brush like the one I'm using now because I can kind of push down a little forcefully, but not too forcefully because you'll rip that napkin, and it just seems to get the wrinkles out. If that don't work, I am so in love with some saran wrap, y'all. All you got to do is lay your saran wrap down, and your finger and that saran wrap works like a hot iron. And it's almost as if the heat from your finger is ironing out those wrinkles. Just be careful when you're pulling that saran wrap up. You don't want to jerk it up too fast because it will pull your napkin up. These napkins are so thin, and you just got to be careful with them. And I promise you, you can do this. It just takes time and practice. I used to be the world's worst when it come to decoupage, but with a lot of practice and a lot of patience, I finally got it. Or at least I feel like I got it to where I'm satisfied. And that's all that matters, guys. Now, you just go around with your saran wrap, and like I said, use it like it's a little old chubby iron, and just go all around it and get out any type of wrinkles that you might see. But honestly, there weren't many wrinkles on this one. Then I just kind of sit back and look and assess my jar there for a minute. And I take the little bit of white paint that's left on my little dauber and kind of go all around that napkin, and it seems to just blend it right in with the background. And I told you that I was going to keep this pretty blue edge, and I just put a little bit of water on my little thin paintbrush, and I go down and just take any of that excess of that napkin off that I may not want on there. And all I'm going to do is take a thin, very thin layer of my liquid patina, and I'm going to start off there in the center and then use that paintbrush. And it's another one of those paintbrushes like before, like a flat paintbrush, to kind of push it down into those grooves at the top of that mason jar. I'm going to go all the way around my mason jar like this, and I've got this really sped up, but you just go slow and take your time, and you're going to do fine. Right there in the very back where the two pieces come together, I accidentally ripped it. But it's no problem, because when you're Mod Podging, you can just stick that piece right back up there and it kind of camouflages in like you never did anything there. And then I'm just going to go all the way around and add some more of that liquid patina, especially around those edges, to make sure that that is on there really good at the top. And then the very last thing I'm going to do is take my little piece of saran wrap there and just kind of go around it and make sure that it's pushed all down into those grooves really good.
And it's just that easy. I hope you like it.
Whenever you're down, out in the cold, faithless and dark, your story's untold. Come take my hand and walk there with me. I know a place where we can be free. There is a light shining for you, guiding your way, helping you through. And shadows and gloom are all that you see. We'll find a place where we can be free. From the mountain top down to the deepest valley, hear a voice.
Now on the next jar, I'm going to do the exact same thing like I did on the first one. This is a jar that I got from the Dollar Tree. It's super easy to decoupage. I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the first one, is take my little bit of water on the end of my paintbrush, and I'm just going to go down through, because we only need 2 images. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of go around and just get the image that I want, because remember, we don't do straight edges. Then you put the liquid patina on your fingers and just make sure that you've got all of your plies separated there, and your napkin is literally going to be like see-through. See, this one was kind of tricky because you think you're done after that first layer, but guess what? It had another layer on the back of it. And a lot of these nicer napkins do seem to have 2 plies, I've noticed. Some of the cheaper ones only have 1 ply. Now, save your napkins, because you can print on those, just those, blank napkins. You can print on those and make your own napkins. But meanwhile, I'm just going to go all the way around, wet everything, and tear my edges. Now you've got your 2 separate napkins, and we're just going to pull them apart right there in the middle. Just be careful. This is in real time, so you see how slowly and carefully I go through to make sure I'm doing it right. And I want to show you how this jar dried down. Now, do you remember I told you that if you do acrylic, it's going to come off like if you bump it or something? Well, this one's not going to come off so easily, and that's why I love using the DIY paint. And if you need any of that DIY paint, you need to head on over to www.miltonsdaughter.com, because my friend Lori is amazing at customer service, and she will help you out in anything that you need. Also, if you use CraftyCathy10 as a code, you're going to get 10% off your first order. And she just has so many discounts and stuff. You need to go check her out. I'll leave all her information in the description box below so that she's very easy to find. But meanwhile, I'm going around and getting all these edges off of here still. I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did the first time. I'm going to use just like a flat brush, and you see I have very little liquid patina on my brush, and I'm just going to put a little bit on there because remember we just do it in sections. I just put a little bit on there and kind of let that napkin fall where it wants to fall. I don't force it and I don't fight with it. I believe that's why the napkins like me so much. I just try not to fuss with them. And then I'm just going to go over again at the edge there and lay it down. I like to start in the middle most of the time because it just seems to me like it gives you less wrinkles. And then you start there in the middle and go to the outer edges to just kind of push down your napkin. And that's going to help you to not have any wrinkles also. I'm just going to spin my jar around and do the exact same thing on the opposite side. Now the middle part is already put down, but we just got to do it in small sections. Lay it down, don't fight with your napkin, and use your saran wrap. Just make sure that you use them fingers to iron out any wrinkles that you might see. Then I like to put just a little bit more liquid patina on my brush and go all the way around the edges, especially at the top, and make sure that everything is stuck down really good and it's not going anywhere. And then I just use saran wrap as I need to. Just always make sure that you use that saran wrap. You don't touch that napkin with your bare fingers because the first thing you're going to do is pull it right off there and make a big old hole and just mess up your whole project, and it just breaks your heart because you've put in so much work already. Don't ask me how I know this. Now on the top, I didn't want it to be silver, so I took it outside and I painted it a Rust-Oleum color called Smoky Beige. And then I just took one of those little thin lace ribbons from the Dollar Tree and just glued it around the top. I thought it would be so precious to take one of these little birds that I got off of Amazon, and they are in my Amazon store under decor, and I'm going to place him right in the center of my little jar. Now, can you believe that this is a Dollar Tree jar that I paid $1.25 for? These little birds come from Amazon, 6 in a pack, and I have used the tarnation out of these things. I absolutely love them.
I hope you like this one.
You are my shelter from the storm. You keep me safe inside your wings. You are my comfort when life gets hard. You lead me to water to drink, and now I trust your gentle hand, even when I can't understand. I know your voice, I'm not afraid, walking with me at the same pace.
On this next one, we're going to do this napkin just a little bit different than what I had before. Look at this sweet little jar that I picked up. I'm pretty sure I got it at a thrift store about a year ago. I took it outside and I spray painted it with that Smoky Beige. The Smoky Beige is a Rust-Oleum color, by the way. That's all I use. I love the Rust-Oleum 2 times. I'm going to use a little squirt and put a little bit of water in my little palette thingy here. And instead of doing like this whole napkin, what I'm going to do is go around each and every chicken on this whole thing, and I'm going to take it off. And by the way, I know at the first of this video I was telling you guys that the very best thing to use for your background color is going to be white, and I stand by that. However, I had ran out of my white spray paint. It was acting crazy and I couldn't use it, and so I had to go to the next lightest color I had, which was the smoky beige. I didn't want to run to Walmart and get paint right in the middle of, my video. So you'll see a little bit of a difference, and I'll be able to show you. So it's actually a good thing that it happened, so you can see the difference that the white brings as opposed to like a darker color like this beige. So let's go through and get all these little chickie babies off here. I wish I would have took the other plies off before I did this, because I had to go through every single one of these little chickens and take 2 plies off of them. It would have been so much easier if I would have just done that to start off. Now, if you guys don't know me, I want to let you know that I am a straight up Tennessee chicken lady, okay? Right now, I just have a couple of chickens, but they are my babies. They are pets. Everybody can pet them. They're so friendly. They walk up to you and they let you pet them. Now, that's my girls, and I love them dearly. Mine are the black and white speckled looking ones, and they are adorable. Anyways, I thought I'd let you in on that fun little fact about me. And all of my chickens are named after country music singers. Right now, I only have Minnie Pearl, and then I have Loretta Lynn, and then don't ask me how this one come about. She is a black chicken that stays off to herself, and we named her Emo because she's, got emotional problems. So we just named her Emo because she's so shy and she just likes to stick by herself. But look at this. I want to show you the difference. What I'm going to do is put down just a little bitty bit of that liquid patina like before. Even though this jar has all these little divots in it, you can still decoupage on it perfectly. It's going to be beautiful. However, I do wish I had a white background. But like I said, it's a good learning curve, because if you don't know much about decoupage, you can actually see the way that this darker color does not allow that napkin to pop as it would if it was white. But it still looks good. So what I did was I just went all around this jar, and I put my little chickens on here. Now, these are some napkins that a subscriber had sent me last year. I don't even remember who it was, to be honest with you, but they sent me like almost probably 50 different napkins, and they are beautiful napkins of all different kinds. So thank you, whoever that was. I remember when I first got them, I told her thank you, but I can't remember one day to the next, so I am so sorry that I had forgotten your name. But I'm just going around putting all my chickens on here, and I absolutely love this jar with the little chicken on the top. That is right up my alley, honey. Once I get all my chickens put on there, I do the exact same thing as I did before with my saran wrap, except for you are going to kind of push your napkin down inside all those divots, because that's what's going to make it stick out and make it pretty. Now, this one turned out really nice. I really like it, and it was really simple and quick to do. I decided that my little chicken on the top was just too plain, the color that he was. So I pulled out some black chalk paint, and I'm just going to just paint only the chicken. Not that whole lid, but just the little chicken up there. And the very last thing I'm going to do is just add a simple shoestring bow. I've got this black and white polka dotted ribbon. And what I do is I just make 2 loops, just like you would your shoestrings, and I just tie a simple bow. And always when the bow just has like the polka dots here is just on one side, I always get one of my little tails turned around, but all you have to do is just maneuver it with your fingers and get it turned back around there. And then I'm just going to glue it up at the top because I thought it needed that little extra touch, and then I just clip the tails off. And then to top it all off, I stuck a little daisy up there on the top, and I hope you like this one.
picking places where you spend your time. Ain't no place I'd rather go. You're a funny little critter and I love you so, man. I wanna take a ride on the wheelbarrow in your mind. I come and sit down with me in a rocking chair. Coffee pot is nice and hot. We can sit in our underwear. Tell me about the dreams you had last week.
Now we're on our very last jar, and this one posed something else that I can show you. Okay, at the bottom of this jar, it's like a bluish color, and at the top, I used the very last of that white Rust-Oleum that I had. I wanted it to have this ombre effect. However, on one side, it kind of looked a little funky, so we're going to cover that up. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going to use a flat brush, and you see I put very little liquid patina, and I laid my napkin right down, start off in the center, and then I'm just kind of working my way out a little bit. Now, this napkin was a cheaper napkin, and it wanted to wrinkle so bad on me, I just kind of let it go with itself. You know, don't worry. Like I said, there's going to be times when you get wrinkles, and there's nothing you can do to get them out. But this is a good way that I can show you, you know, here's another way that I use my saran wrap. I will kind of pull it taut from side to side and try to get it to straighten out. But there's a couple places in this napkin that would not straighten out for the life of me. But it's okay, because sometimes the wrinkles actually look really good in, you know, something like a glass jar like this. And let me just show you what I mean here. I'm going to go over it, use my little finger like I normally do, and try to make it like an iron. I'm pointing out where the wrinkles are. I know it's kind of tough to see them from where you're at here at the camera angle, but there was some wrinkles, and I just kept going over them, and then using that saran wrap and pushing down. Let me show you what I did, though. Burr, burr. My finger slipped, and I made a hole in the napkin. But guess what? Like I said, this is a good learning chance for me to show you how you can easily cover it up. You're never even going to know it was there. Everything in crafting can be fixed. It's so easy. And let me just show you what I did. I'm going to go ahead and finish out my napkin by putting all the sides down, laying them down, letting it just go as it wants to. I'm not forcing anything, and it's just doing its thing. And then see how it got really wrinkly there on the edge. Now, I'm going to try to use my saran wrap and get that out the best I can. But there was still some wrinkles left in it, and I did not fret. Like I said, it still looked good. And all of these jars will still sell very easily for me, because a lot of people like those wrinkles, okay? So don't worry, don't fret. You see how I like to take my saran wrap and pull it taut, and it just kind of pulls it like straight down and takes a lot of those wrinkles out. If that don't work, I lay it down and run my finger over it like I do. Like I told you, I'm ironing it out, getting those wrinkles out, and I just kept working with this napkin. But no matter what I did, it just had a little bit of wrinkles. It just didn't want to give up on me. So I move over and I go to my other side of the napkin here. I'm just going to put down just a very little bit of that liquid patina and lay it down with this flat brush. And that way I can use a little bit of force. And you see I'm going from the inward, outward motion. And that way it's going to do what I want it to do. Now this is how I covered up my little boo-boo that I made. I like to keep just a cheap old palette of different colored eyeshadows. I think this one came from Amazon, or I don't know. Maybe it came from a thrift store. I don't know. But I get the color that is closest to that flower, and I use one of those little daubers, okay? I like those. I've got those in my Amazon store if you want them. They're really good for shading. And I'm just taking that eyeshadow, and it's the same color as that flower, maybe a little bit more glittery looking. You know how eyeshadow looks like glittery. And I'm just going in and filling in that flower just like I'm coloring it in.
And by the time I finished, you never even knew that that flower had a hole in it. It was perfect. And then I also go over and try to correct another little area that I had messed up there. Like I said, it's just crafting and everything can be fixed. This is my little shading brush. I've heard that you can get these at the Dollar Tree, but I got mine off of Amazon. I'm going in with a little bit of a brighter color of pink because I wanted to kind of brighten this up a little bit. Now, you can use these eyeshadow palettes to, kind of shadow stuff in, and it works beautifully, absolutely beautifully. So I just went in and just kept shading on that little flower until it got exactly how I wanted it to look. I also like to take just a little bit of that white paint on my sponge or my dauber, either one, and just go around the outer sides of my napkin and just kind of blend it in. It just takes those little jaggedy, harsh edges and just kind of brings them down. In this light, you can see the wrinkles just a little bit better, but they looked fine. I'm totally okay with that, and this jar turned out absolutely beautiful. I flipped this jar over and I put the exact same little bird on the other side also. And guess what? I ran into the same problems. This napkin just wanted to wrinkle, so it wasn't me. It was more the napkin, but it's okay because like I said, it did not look bad at all to me. So I used my saran wrap. I went around and I used some paint just to kind of blend everything together with my sponge. And there was even another hole on this side, another hole in the same flower. But it's just because that this napkin was so thin, it was a little difficult to work with, but it's okay. And I did the exact same thing. I filled that flower in just like I did the other one, and you would never know that there was a hole there in the first place. I took a little butterfly transfer that I got from, I think this one came from Essential Stencils, and I'm going to put it on the side of my jar. It just kind of looked right with these two little birds. And if you've never done a transfer before, all you do is lay it down on the little plastic that it comes on, and you use a scraping tool. I like to use my fingernail, and it basically just comes right off. And then I'm going to use the color called Sea Glass by DIY Paint. I'm going to go all the way around the top of this bottle, and I'm just making little dots, just something a little different to draw some attention to the top so it wouldn't just be plain. And then I go around the neck of the bottle and do the exact same thing, just making my little dots. And then I still didn't feel like it was totally complete, so I took a very thin paintbrush and that color called Sea Glass, and I just went ahead and painted the upper portion of that bottle. Now the parts where I had put the little dots had already kind of dried, so it just made them kind of stick out even more, almost looking like milk glass. And it turned out so cute. I hope you like this one. I'm going to style it with some beautiful solar wood flowers that was sent to me by the company. And I'm going to leave their information in the description box in case you want this bouquet. It's gorgeous.
Yes, everyone needs a friend. So let's come together, celebrate each other, stand united as one. We lift our hands up and pray, lay all our love before Him with all of our faith. He is the change within us, there is a light. Let Him lead the way, lift our hands up and pray today. Oh, pray. Everyone needs somebody to lean on. Everyone needs someone who cares.
Hey, if you stuck with me through this whole video, I just want to say thank you. And I hope that this gave you some inspiration. If you're learning how to decoupage, I hope I helped you out a little bit, especially if you're wanting to decoupage on glass. But now my videos are every Monday and Thursday at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. I hope that you'll subscribe, stick around, and become a part of our family. And if you would, hit that like button because it really helps me out on YouTube. It pushes me out there in front of people who've never seen my content before. And I would love if you would share it. But I'll see you guys real soon, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. You have a great week. Love ya.